So, first section. Is watching, and more importantly, is laughing at South Park morally permissible? Some people raise moral objections to watching South Park. For those of us familiar with South Park, we already know why. But for those of you who don't, I'll enlighten you. There are four main characters of South Park, and they're 8-year-old boys. And in fact, I have them on my tie. 8-year-old boys who swear, curse, and say and do things that would make the very worst of us, for example, Lindsay Lohan, Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, make them all blush in embarrassment. The worst of the four boys is Cartman. In season 1, Cartman said, and I quote, "I would never let a woman kick my ass. If she tried anything, I'd be all, hey, get your bitch ass back in the kitchen and make me some pie." In season 5, he convinced everyone that if they ate with their butt, they'd crap out their mouths. And he turned out to be right. In season 6, he fed beef jerky to a cow. Well, actually a little cute little baby veal cow. In the latest season, season 10, he handcuffed Billy Turner's ankle to a flagpole, gave him a hacksaw, and then told him that he poisoned his lunch milk, and the only way he could get to the antidote in time would be to saw through his leg. But the outrageousness is not reserved only for the kids. In season 5, during the one episode in which they were entitled to say the word shit was said 162 times. That's one shit every 8 seconds. In season 7, Christopher Reeve gained superpowers by cracking open fetuses and sucking out their stem cells. He did. And he got so strong he threw a car over it. In season 10, Kyle's 6-year-old brother Ike had a sexual affair with his kindergarten teacher. South Park is even blasphemous. Jesus is a resident of South Park and a recurring character. He has a talk show, much like Maury Povich, was beaten up by Satan, put on a Rod Stewart concert in Vegas to stage his comeback, and even admitted that his New Testament miracles were just parlor tricks. He asks people to turn around while he reaches behind a cart and pulls out 5,000 loaves and fishes. In season 5, all the major religious figures, including Muhammad, were depicted as superheroes who fought the evil David Blaine and his Blainiacs. David Blaine was trying to take over the world. In season 9, a statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary sprayed menstrual blood on the Pope. And to top it all off, Cartman has goaded people into abortions, once fed Scott Titterman chili made up from the ground carcasses of Scott's own dead parents, and Cartman also once tried to exterminate the Jews. He was inspired by Hitler and Mel Gibson's Passion. Those who raise moral objections to watching South Park argue that there is something wrong with laughing at such things because such things are immoral. In fact, they would probably suggest that there's something morally wrong with those of us, like us, who laugh at them. As I learned from Chapter 2, in Catherine Yu's chapter entitled, "Is It Okay to Laugh at South Park?", Ronald DeSouza suggests just this, when he argues that to laugh at a joke, one must endorse the attitudes and assumptions behind the joke. If he is right, it would seem that it is immoral to laugh at South Park. Clearly, some people agree with DeSouza. This is why they don't laugh at certain jokes, like Bob Saget's version of The Aristocrats, for example. If you've never seen that, beware. They believe, I think Bob Saget's nice and neat from Full House, but he's not. They believe that showing that joke, they think the joke is funny, is showing that they endorse the assumptions behind it. And this might be true, especially for certain types of jokes, like water cooler jokes, everyday jokes told by ordinary people at the expense of others. So take this joke, for example. Admission to the Institute of Important Historic Figures is quite hard to attain. As Einstein approaches, the doorman says, "To enter, you must prove that you are Einstein." Einstein writes some equations and proves that from the assumption that the speed of light is constant in all reference frames, that simultaneity is relative. The doorman is convinced. He lets him pass. Picasso approaches, and the doorman demands, "To enter, you must prove that you're Picasso." Picasso quickly sketches a few of his famous works, each more wondrous than the next. The doorman is convinced and lets him pass. George W. Bush approaches, and the doorman appropriately and promptly demands, "To enter, you must prove that you are George W. Bush." To which the president responds, "What do you mean I have to prove who I am? I'm the president." Doorman replies, "Look, If Picasso and Einstein had to do it, so do you. Who the hell is Picasso and Einstein? The doorman was convinced and let him pass. Now, you probably don't think that's funny unless you endorse the assumption behind it, that George W. Bush is an ignoramus. But fortunately for those who laugh at South Park, De Souza is wrong. As you argues, endorsing an immoral attitude behind a joke is not a necessary condition for finding the joke funny. This seems to be especially true of satirical jokes. For example, jokes that make fun of vice by imitating it. One need only imagine what it would be like to endorse such an attitude to find a joke funny. Take, for instance, Cartman's depiction of Jennifer Lopez in one of my favorite episodes, Fat Butt, Pancake Head. Cartman pretends that an alter ego of Jennifer Lopez has possessed his hand. Right? And the entire episode, his hand talks like a hand puppet. A hand puppet that rolls its R's, loves tacos and burritos, and will even take off her top if you pay for an order at Taco Bell. But you argues, we can imagine what it is like to be a racist like Cartman, and how such a person would depict a young Hispanic woman. And in doing so, we adopt for a moment the morally objectionable attitudes the racist holds. But this imaginative adoption hardly marks one as a racist. That it is imagined disqualifies it from being a genuine attitude. In fact, since it is satire, making fun of the vice by imitating it, it seems that when one laughs, one not only fails to endorse the attitude behind the joke, but one is actually laughing at it. When one laughs at Cartman's depiction of Jennifer Lopez as a fast-talking, R-rolling, taco and burrito-loving chola, we're not saying, well, that sure is funny because that's exactly what Jennifer Lopez is like, because all Latinos are like that. But in fact, we're saying, holy cow, I know people who think, like Cartman, that all Latinos are like that. And that's just what they always say, and that's how stupid they always look when they say it. Our laughter at the vices of the inhabitants of South Park is not an endorsement, it's an indictment. Now, of course, one might wonder about the non-satirical humor of South Park. The outlandish, outrageous stuff that Matt and Trey do in a seemingly purposeful effort to offend as many people as possible. For instance, is it okay to laugh when Isaac Hayes' character Chef is mutilated for about a minute and a half by a mountain lion and a bear after Isaac left the show for religious reasons? Is it okay to laugh when they had Steve Irwin show up at Satan's Sweet 16 birthday party with a stingray stuck in his chest the very week that Steve Irwin died? Is it okay to laugh when, as Mr. Garrison has his sex change operation, they actually show real live footage of a sex change operation? Is it okay to laugh when a cute little virgin porcupine gives birth to the Antichrist? Strangely enough, I suspect so. As Ramachandran argues in his books Phantoms in the Brain, laughter is most often simply the brain's natural reactions to things that it does not expect. That is why irony is funny. That's why a punchline you don't see coming is funny. That's why a joke, when you do see the punchline coming, isn't funny, because you're not surprised. Most notably, this is also why people laugh after being startled. Notice, next time you watch a scary movie, how many times people laugh after they're startled by the killer jumping out of nowhere. People will scream and do like that, and then they have this burst of laughter that follows. I suspect that our laughter at South Park's outrageousness is simply just that. We laugh because we don't see it coming. In the same way we didn't expect Freddy Krueger to appear out of nowhere, we also didn't expect Matt and Trey to get away with spraying menstrual blood on the Pope. And we laugh not because we think that would be great if that happened, but because we didn't expect to ever see that on television. And if that's the reason you're laughing, that's often my reason for laughing, this could hardly count as an endorsement of an immoral attitude. It would seem to be just as morally permissible as laughing after you're scared at a killer in a horror flick.